Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. It's great to see everybody again. I am calling to order the Connecticut State Advisory Council for Special Education meeting on Wednesday. What is today? March 26th at 9:01 a.m. I'm Susan Yankee. I'm the chair as well as a parent member. Don't forget, if you use an acronym during the meeting, just take a second to explain what it means for everybody. Um, so the council purpose and function. The SAC brings together the Connecticut State Department of Education, CSDE, educators and related service providers, administrators, legislators, parents, as well as students and persons with disabilities, all dedicated to supporting the education of students with disabilities. Through these meetings, our priorities and recommendations for the CSDE and the Connecticut General Assembly are formed, and we present them in the form of an annual report every year. So more information is on the Connecticut State Department of Education website, along with past meeting videos and annual reports. Introductions and roles. So members, I'm just going to call on you quickly. Please introduce yourself and your role on this council. So I would like to introduce our newest member, Representative Gajewski.
Yep.
Gajewski? Yes. Thank
Hi,
you.
I'm Dan Gajewski. I'm from the 40th District representing Groton and New London. I was just elected in a special election on February 25th and sworn in on February 28th. And I had the honor of being appointed by the majority leader, Jason Rojas, to serve on this task force. It is an honor to serve. And I am the son of a second grade teacher currently here in the state of Connecticut. So when I told my mom about this, she was very excited that I was getting involved in this, and she's like, "This is a special education is a major issue here in the state of Connecticut, and having not firsthand knowledge, but someone in my family who's so close, who knows these issues, who knows the impact that it has in the classroom is something vitally I'm aware of, and I'm happy to help solve this issue that is affecting many of our residents in this state.
We so appreciate that you were here. Yeah, Tom is giving you applause. We are so grateful. I would next like to introduce Brian K. Klemkowitz, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Brian Klimkowitz. I'm the Special Education Division Director at the State Department of Education. Good to see you all.
Good morning. Catherine?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Catherine Sum, and I represent Aging and Disability Services, Bureau of Education and Services for the Blind. I am the chair of the membership committee. So welcome, Representative Gajewski. I'm so happy that you're here. And I'm also a member of the SAC Executive Committee.
Thank you. Missy?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Missy Wrigley. I'm a consultant at CERC, but I am here as a parent of a young man with disabilities.
Thank you so much. Tom?
Yeah, good morning, Tom Kosker. I am here as a representative of Disability Rights Connecticut, which is a protection and advocacy system for people with disabilities in Connecticut. And I'm also the parent of a 17, he just turned 17-year-old son with disabilities, and 18-year-old daughter who's in college. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Sean?
Good morning. I'm Sean Cronin. I work with Brian at the Connecticut State Department of Education in the Bureau of Special Education.
Thank you so much. Nachi?
Thank you, Susan. Good morning, everyone. Nachi Bhatt, representing Department of Children and Families, specifically children in foster care, students with disabilities.
Thank you so much. Oh, Jennifer?
Good morning, Jennifer Lucier. I am here representing the Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center, and I'm also the parent of children with disabilities.
Thank you so much.
Chair.
Oh, sorry. I'm cutting everybody off today because I know how much we have to do. Josh?
Hi, I'm Josh Martin. I'm the Director of Pupil Services in East Haddam Public Schools, and I'm on the committee as a representative of the Connecticut Council of Administrators of Special Ed, or CONCASE. Excited to be here.
Thank you so much. Mary Beth? Oh, you're on mute, Mary. Mary Beth, you're on mute.
I think this constitutes something like how many we've been on Zoom for 5 years, and I still forget to you. I'm Mary Beth Bruder, and represent the University of Connecticut Center of Excellence in Developmental Disabilities, Educational Research and Service, but I should say I represent higher education faculty.
Thank you so much. Brian Smith?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Brian Smith. I'm Assistant Regional Director here at the Department of Developmental Services. I oversee our Individual Families and Self-Determination Division in our Southern region, and I'm here representing the individuals and families that we support statewide.
Thank you so much. Allison?
Good morning, everyone. I'm here as a representative for the Department of Aging and Disability Services, specifically the Bureau of Rehabilitation Services, where I'm a regional director for the Northern region.
Thank you so much. Dimpy?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dimpy Malvania. I'm here as a parent representative. I have a 13-year-old boys who are with multiple disabilities.
Thank you so much, Dimpy. Stacy? Okay, Stacy, are you available?
Yes, sorry, I'm having technical difficulties. Apologies, I can't seem to get my video on. I am here as a parent of 2 teen children with hearing impairment and an educator. I'm very happy to be here. Good morning.
Good morning. Lena?
Good morning, everyone. Lena Esposito, and I'm here representing a parent with a special needs child. Thank you.
Thank you. Lewis?
Hi, Louis Talarita, Connecticut State Department of Education. I represent the Education of Homeless Children and Youth Act under McKinney-Vento.
Thank you. Jonathan?
Hi, my name is Jonathan Metcalf. I'm here as a parent representative.
Thank you. Jovi?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joviana Morales, and I am here as a parent representative.
Great. Thank you so much, Michael.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Michael Scanlon here as a person with a disability representing students and youth.
Thank you so much. Brandolyn?
Good morning. My name is Brandolyn Fulton Williams, and I'm here as a parent representative. My son is 6 years old, and he's in first grade.
Thank you. Did I get all the members? And I just want to make sure that Holly and Christine introduce themselves.
Good morning, everyone. Christine Kilwin, the State Education Resource Center, where I'm a consultant and here for logistics and coordination and to support all of you.
Thank you. Holly?
Hi, all. I am Holly Ryan, also from the State Education Resource Center as a project specialist.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We have quite a few of our members here today. I'm very excited. Next, we have public comment. I see we have someone here for public comment. So, Lisa? Are you here? So I just want to tell you, welcome. You have 3 minutes, and as a council, we can only listen and not respond, but I'm sure we'll respond. Sometimes we have good information, but we will take into consideration your comments at a later date if needed. And please don't mention school districts or students by name if you can, other than if you work somewhere. Okay, Lisa?
Hi, everyone. I just had heard about your committee. I know we're doing a lot in Connecticut to try to further special education, so I really just wanted to see what you guys were up to. I am a speech language pathologist in the city of Waterbury. I've been here for 28 years, and I know that we just don't have any speech language pathologists anymore. My district has several. I don't want to go into details, but there's a lot of kids that are just not covered. I really was interested in finding out about, kind of legislature that might be helpful. For example, licensure for speech language assistants, or there is like a pact currently being done by ASHA to have reciprocity with licensing in other states. And I just thought that's just one avenue to try to help out this real critical shortage. So I thank you guys all for your efforts, and I'm, just looking forward to learning more about your, your mission. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing, because our mission are unmet needs. And that sounds like that's an unmet need. And Allison is our speech and language pathologist representative. Maybe somehow we can connect you to Allison so you can is that possible? I can do that?
Susan,
Allison?
I think you mean Kim,
Oh,
yeah,
Kimberly Williamson, sorry.
Williamson.
Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry, Allison, your BRS. So
Yeah,
sorry.
absolutely.
Thank you, Brian.
Just wanted to also jump in and thank you, Lisa, for your service and support of students for so many years and dedicating your time and talents and expertise. Also wanted to mention an exciting program we have with the Rusk Alliance now, where we're working with higher ed prep programs in having speech and language pathologist candidates actually work in school districts to support evaluations of students and observations in classrooms and so forth. So we're looking to expand those types of programs, but also know the critical shortage that we have and doing everything we can to support and recruit new upcoming folks that are interested in assisting students with their communication and language skills. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Brian. You always have all the answers. Is there anybody else here for public comment? No?
I
Okay.
see we have someone who wasn't mentioned. His name is Evan Dantos. Excuse me on the pronunciation.
Okay. He might just be viewing, so okay. All right. Thank you so much. All right. So next we're gonna zip to our consent agenda. Our February 26th full council minutes need to be approved. Are there any corrections? I did not see any. No? Great. Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes as written for February 26th?
So move, Missy.
Thank you, Missy. And a second?
Second.
Okay,
Lena.
Lena, a second. And then abstain for anybody who wasn't at the meeting.
Abstain.
And who is? I didn't-
Abstain.
Okay, so Michael and who else?
Rep Gieske.
Oh, yeah, because you were there. Thank you. All right, all approve? Wonderful. The meeting minutes are passed for February 26, 2025. Next, all right, old business. This will just be quickly. So, Christine, could you just put up for us the Venn di- Oh, Brandolyn, do you need, oh, you just were voting, right? I saw your hand up. Nope. Okay.
Yes, just voting. Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing it the correct way. Thank you. So I just wanted this is a Venn diagram from the TOE Youth Justice Institute. The executive committee, along with Tom Kosker, met with representatives of the TOE Institute. And the SAC is included as an advisory board that aligns as a strategic partner with the Transforming Children's Behavior, Health Policy, and Planning Committee. This is just part of their draft report that is going to be released in April. And when it's released, we'll share it with the full SAC. But just take a quick second. And do you see the Venn diagram? I'm not sure if everybody can read it, but what they put as our overlapping is improved behavioral health services for children and youth. And I think I'm going to take a look at this later. If anybody feels that we have more things that overlap with them, would you send an email to me? I guess we should share this one page. I guess you were right. Christine was like, share the page with the council. I don't know if we're supposed to be allowed to share the full draft, but we could share this page because I think there are more things that we overlap with them. Is that okay? Is that okay?
Susan,
Yeah.
Susan, just to jump in, yeah, I think it's okay to share, but I remember at the meeting, again, this is draft form. It's not to share
It's a
widely.
draft.
It's for internal purposes only. So just
Right.
for us to internally comment on and not to share more broadly.
Right. And just on this one page, page 11, if that's possible.
We could do that.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we have such a short time. If members of the council could just take a look at this and then reach out to me, you have my email. It's in the gigantic email chain. And if you see anything that you think that we have more overlapping. Next, we are in need of a few more members to be on the bylaw and process review ad hoc committee. Right now, it's just Jennifer, myself, and Sean. As with all ad hocs, this is a temporary committee and mostly email correspondence and documents. So if you're thinking like in the future, you want to do a leadership position on the council, this is a great way to understand how the council runs through looking at the bylaws and helping create policies for different committees. Okay, great. Next, unified programming. So Mr. Kosker and I, Tom, met with Mike Mason, President and CEO from Special Olympics and Unified Sports, as well as some of his team members. And why we met with them is Tom has all these connections, and we were just trying to get a little more information regarding our recommendation for more unified programming and more granting for unified programming. So Tom, I'm going to quickly say what I thought what they had put together of what we learned, and then I'm going to have you jump in. So what we learned is their unmet need is how unified sports and programming can be integrated into the transition planning process for students. And also they felt that city schools face challenges in implementing new initiatives, such as unified sports. And also they wanted to know what resources are available for families to learn about unified sports and other community programs, such as unified theater. And then we had discussed somehow getting information to special education directors about the availability of unified programs. So, also, Tom, we're going to talk quickly about, we didn't know they have a healthy athletes program. And Tom has asked for a one-page information sheet for them for everybody on the council. And this healthy athlete program provides free hearing aids, free vision tests, glasses, I believe physicals. Tom?
Yeah, thank you, Susan. So yeah, Special Olympics has a number of programs. Obviously, the one you're used to is Special Olympics athletic programs, right? And then Unified Sports is one kind of group subdivision within that, and there's a bunch of others, Healthy Athletes being one. So there's a bunch of different programs they run. So kind of as we looked at the collaboration with us looking at inclusion and being a big part of our work here at the SAC, Unified was kind of a natural connection that the SAC came up with. So I think a couple things is collaborating with them on how we can get the word out about their programming. Again, hence asking for like a one-page on what your different programs are, so that we can spread the word to our various stakeholder groups. One thing they mentioned was, again, thinking about Josh and the group that you're part of, just reaching out to special education directors to make sure a lot of districts are aware of that. So that's one thing they were just asking us to facilitate. I know sometimes that's a challenge, but sometimes we can make that, happen. The other one that they had mentioned, again, was, getting the word out around transition. So just to expand on that a little bit is a lot of the unified programs are run in districts. And then once you exit school system, there's a lot of unified programs that are run in communities and community-based programs. And to learn about those is sort of a challenge sometimes. So just to whatever extent we can as a group, figure out ways to help them spread the word on some of those community-based programs during the transition time is an important one. We know we have that transition, PPTs and transition bill of rights and all that stuff. So any way we can kind of help spread the word to those parents and families was something. And then the last thing that we discussed, Susan, that you didn't mention is like our back to school event. So we mentioned the back to school event that we have that, Brian and the State Department of Ed runs in September, and that, they would be interested in, and I know, Brian, you're always looking at, partners and speakers and panels and different things, aspects of how you put that together. So they would be interested in kind of participating in that in some way, right? Presenting to, connecting with that kind of time, because then you have a really good group of folks to connect with and to reach out to. So that was another thing. We can follow up with some of these things, Brian, with you and the rest of the SAC as time goes along. But they were very interested in collaborating with us. And again, it lined up with a lot of our goals as well. So thank you, Susan.
Thanks. And what we also learned is that Unified Theater is a little separate from them, but they're also on the CIAC website, and that there's no formal programming for Unified Arts, that schools are just kind of putting it together themselves. So we have two hands up. We have Missy and Brian. Who would like to go first?
Well, I'll start. We had Special Olympics we had our transition symposium yesterday. So I'm lucky I'm actually awake this morning. But Special Olympics did a lunch presentation for our group. It was phenomenal. They're just really great. And they really do want to get the word out. I did put in chat their presentation that they did. because it's public and it's posted for everybody. But it kind of goes through some of the programming and stuff like that. That was really awesome. But they are very anxious to speak anywhere. They've been at several of the transition fairs that I've been to. I invited them to ours that we had in Canterbury. And so they set up a table. They love talking with families, and sharing all the stuff that they do and the programs that they have in the area. So, any way that we can get them involved, I think is really a good thing.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Just a quick comment for Tom, just to let you about the back to school. So we're very excited about this year's upcoming back to school event for our school districts. It's going to be held, we're going to send out a save the date, but it's going to be held on September 5th, which is a Friday, and a location change in Bristol Convention Center this year. So Tom, I just wanted to mention for folks who are interested in coordinating and collaborating and sharing and disseminating information for that session, to send information to me and Jay Brown and Jay Brown at the state. So appreciate that.
Okay, great. Is Tom or anybody else have any comments about this?
Yeah, no, thanks, Susan. I think it was great. I think it was a great connection. Susan, you kind of got that moving along, and I helped facilitate it. But and to Missy's point, they do want to talk with. So as any of you lead other groups that you think might be useful to hear from them, we can definitely make that connection with Mike and his staff. If you're interested in hearing from their group and hearing what they have to say, if you have a captured audience, so to speak, at some point that would like to hear from them, so they love that. So thank you.
Great, thank you so much. All right, I think I'm on time. I'm almost on time. Okay, wonderful. Next is the membership committee report and updates. Catherine?
Okay, great. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm happy to report we have 2 new members. Welcome again, Representative Gajewski. We're so happy to have you here on the SAC. And how exciting that your mom is a 2nd grade teacher. So you definitely have a unique perspective to bring to the council. So thank you again. We really appreciate your time. And to keep the good news coming, we have a potential student member. So the membership committee and I had the pleasure of reviewing and meeting a student candidate. He couldn't be with us today, but his name is Evan Simlick, and he is a student in Stafford. He's in the transition program there. And just to read a little bit from his application, when asked, why are you interested in joining the SAC? Evan wrote, I want to help students and young adults with disabilities find jobs. And additional information he provided. As a young adult, I am currently in a transition program where I go to work and learn about job skills. One of my favorite jobs is working as a paraeducator at Stafford Elementary School. I think these experiences could be an asset for the council. I care deeply and I want to help. And caring deeply, wanting to help was very clear to us when we met Evan. He presented himself as a very thoughtful young adult. He asked us really great questions. He was interested in hearing what we had to say about the SAC, and he shared information about himself. And on behalf of the membership committee, I would like to say that he would make an excellent student representative on the SAC. And I don't know if there are any other members from the membership committee here today who have anything that they would like to add. No,
I'll say, oh, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say he was awesome. It was great meeting him. He was a true joy. So I think he would be and asked a lot of very pertinent questions. So yes. I think he would be very well accepted into our group.
I agree.
I was going to say something similar, just very infectious energy, and seems like he's really excited to join this kind of work. And I think it would be a great asset to the SAC to add him.
I'll
I
say
agree.
as an informal process, though formal in its own way, he was more engaging than some people I've interviewed in a formal process. So, a lot of great prep work, you can tell, and he was extremely engaged and great questions. So I can see the assets that he carries and brings with him to the table to be a benefit to the committee. So definitely in support of him.
Thank you, Brian. So, anyone have any questions? No? Okay. Well, would someone like to make a motion to vote on Evan's application?
I'll make a motion, or I'll second it.
Okay. Great. So all in favor of accepting Evan Stimlick's application as a student member, raise your hand or say aye. Great. And any opposed? No? Okay, wonderful. So Evan is our newest student representative. We now have 2 student representatives. We still have room for 2 more. And I would also like to just give a shout out to Lori Fortuna. She was very instrumental in this recruitment process. Lori, thank you so much. Your persistence paid off. And I think that we really have an amazing student joining us. Thank you.
Oh, it was my pleasure. He's a great kid. So I'm really glad everyone liked him.
Oh yeah, thank you. Okay, and so that is it for membership. But just a gentle reminder, there was an email that went out, I think at the beginning of March. I know we're all really busy people, but if you feel like your circumstances have changed and you're overcommitted with other committees and organizations, and you don't foresee being able to continue on the SAC after July 1st, please send me an email, preferably by the end of this month, just so the membership committee can begin a recruitment plan for new members. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Jennifer, would you monitor the chat for me? Because I see there's 11 and I'm unable to check it. If there's anything. Thank you. Actually, I'm going to make a motion to move the nominating committee to this section of the meeting above the legislative committee report, since the legislative committee report is going to be in depth. So would someone please make a motion to move the nominating committee to right now in the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Wonderful. Second. Thank you. Anyone opposed? Nope. All in favor? Wonderful. We will now move the nominating committee to this portion of the agenda. Thank you. Brian, all yours.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you moving it up because I was ill prepared. Just kidding. Anyways, we are interested to receiving applications for chair and vice chair. Susan and Jennifer. Terms end July 1st, and we'll be moving on in other capacities and would like to get others involved in the committee structure and the leadership side of things. So we are officially taking on nominations for both those positions. I'll start with the vice chair and then go chair, or whichever order people prefer. But both have communicated that they will be there to provide mentorship to the incoming elected officials to those positions. So if you are interested in both either the chair or the vice chair role, we'll go through the formal nominating process. But just know that both Susan and Jennifer will be there as a mentor to whomever goes into the seat by which they've occupied. And then those reins can be cut when everybody feels mutually comfortable. So I want to thank Susan and Jennifer for their time in their roles. I know you got a little bit more time ahead of you, a few more months, but you guys have been amazing in your capacities on this committee. Big shoes to fill, but there's a lot of squares on this screen of candidates that I think could do a fantastic job carrying this committee forward. So We'll start with nominations for the vice chair, and not to put people on the spot. If you're thinking of somebody, haven't spoken to them about it, and you want to speak to them, that's fine. But if there's names that want to be thrown to us right now that we can discuss at a later time, we can do that. But if you want to talk to somebody offline, then we can you can let me know, brian.k.smith@ct.gov, if there's somebody that you wanted to nominate. So, Catherine, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I'm not nominating anyone, but I just want to add that at least one of these roles needs to be filled by a parent. So just so everyone keeps that in mind.
And anyone who's just mulling it over, reach out to Jennifer or myself if you have any questions about what time commitment it is, what your duties are. And I don't think I've cut the reins to Jennifer, who was my mentor when I came in yet. I still have
I had a question.
Yes, Mr. Spar.
Hi, thanks, Brian. I think this might be putting Jennifer on the spot, but I thought she had indicated possibly that she might be interested in staying on as the vice chair, but not, I didn't know. Did you indicate that, or was that not, did I read it wrong?
I would only do that in the absence of another person doing it.
Okay. I don't know. I'd like to nominate for chairmanship. I'd like to nominate, and I have not spoken to the person, but I'd like to nominate Tom Kosker.
Yeah, so I'll say this quickly. I appreciate that. I'm a past chair. I am not allowed to do that from my boss's direction. I'm not allowed to take that on as chair. So
I was thinking about you as chair and Kramer as vice chair.
Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll have to decline, and my boss will be happy that I did.
Oh, okay. So, well, Holly, yes.
This question is just for Brian. Is it okay if I put your email in the chat to share to everyone?
That would be lovely.
All right, thank you. Sorry, Susan.
Mull it over. I'll be here to help. Jennifer will be here. The executive committee is here to help. So you can do it. If I could do it after only being on the council a couple months, you can do it. So, all right.
So
Next.
again, just real quick. So my email's in compliments of Holly. Thank you, Holly, for doing that. Vice chair and chair. But if you do have somebody other than nominating yourself, which is always an option as well, I would, reach out to that person and just have a conversation so that they're comfortable with the nomination. And again, both Susan, Jennifer have been fantastic, big shoes to fill. Thank you so much for what you guys have been doing. I know you got 4 more months, so don't let no sliding here. Keep the foot on the gas pedal. But speak to them and really get an informed knowledge base of what the roles, because they do differ a little bit, but what the roles entail and the time commitment, et cetera, to ensure that the nomination is something you want to accept. So thank you for your time today.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you, Brian. Next, we have the Legislative Committee report. I have both Mr. Jeffrey Spar and Tom Kosker here. And Jeff, would you like them to put on the screen the slides that say the ones you're going to talk about?
Sure, that'd be fine. Thank you for doing that.
Mm-hmm. Holly or Christine, are you able to get those up?
I don't have the slides. I was unaware that we would be sharing slides.
I can share real quick.
Yeah, I didn't. I was looking through my email while we were talking. I didn't see it.
I can share.
I'll share.
All right, thank you, Tom.
If I have share abilities here, hold on a second. Share. Let's make sure we do this right. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Bills. Okay. Take it away there. Take it away there, boss. Is that good, Jeff?
Yeah. So this bill is kind of like an omnibus bill, and it's kind of like an empty bucket right now that's being filled. And we're going to have to submit some ideas for this. We haven't done so yet, but that's one of the things that we're going to be doing. Basically, this is just it's a bill with the title, and then people are going to backfill it, and we're going to be moving forward on that and putting some suggestions in that.
Let me just speak to that one real quick, Jeff. So this is the large bill that the Special Education Committee subcommittee or committee select committee at the legislature is kind of building, as Jeff says, this year. They will be having a public hearing on this in the first or second week of April. It hasn't been scheduled yet, but we suggested they do that before spring break of the schools in Connecticut. So it'll likely be first or second week of April. There's lots of pieces. We have submitted our SAC legislative recommendations to them, and they are using those in addition to lots of other input from lots of other people to build that the components of that bill. So there's a lot of stuff going into that. So that's what that one's all about. And yeah, once public comment is scheduled in the public hearing, obviously we'll have an opportunity to present and testify to them. That's it. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you. That's just the main one. You can skip that next one.
SB1. Okay. Yeah. SB1 is, it's a lot around funding. On this one, there's a lot about funding on it. There was a long public hearing on that one a couple weeks ago. And I believe, is that where you put your testimony in, Susan, or did you do it on 5001, our recommendations?
I believe I put it in for 5,000.
5001. Okay. So this is the Senate bill. That's, again, kind of a big bill. Got a lot of stuff in there. There's a lot of components around this, around funding and lots of stuff. So anyway.
Wait, Tom,
Yeah.
is this the one that, Jeff, is this the one that we submitted asking for restraint and seclusion to be the day of?
Yeah. That's where we put
did
that
have
one
test-
in. Yeah,
we
that's
did
where
have
we
test-
put that one in. Yeah, that's where we put that one in. And again,
Yes.
we could kick.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead. Look,
Yeah, no,
I can
go ahead,
address
Jeff,
that.
on the restraint seclusion. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, and Susan, thank you for calling it to my attention. So, basically, what we did was and I submitted on behalf of the executive committee and the legislative committee, I submitted written testimony on this. And basically what we're saying is, so this bill here, the way it was written, had some stuff in there to address the statute that dealt with restraint and seclusion. It was dealing with a particular subsection. What we did was, and it happened to be statute section 10-236B. We didn't address the portion that they had in there. We said, oh, by the way, we think you should fix something else, which happened to be subsection H. And what we wanted to do was two things. We wanted to notify a parent or guardian of a student who is placed in physical restraint or seclusion not later than 24 hours after the student. That's how it that's how it reads at present. We wanted to change it to the same day of the occurrence. So as it stands now is there's supposed to be notification to the parent or guardian within not later than 24 hours. We wanted to have it the same day of. And then the second thing is we wanted to have it in the preferred or native language of the parents or guardians of the student so that it could be effective. Because, if a student comes home and they were put in restraining seclusion that day, to make it that the parents can get the notification the following day after a whole evening, after they sit down at dinner and everything like that, we're like, no, that's not good. We want to have it the day of, and we want to have it in a language they can understand. So we have proposed that for the inclusion in Senate Bill number 1.
Next one, Jeff. I'm not sure if you have something on each one of these, but I'll just kind of scroll through them.
Well, so regarding the paraeducators, that was for, there was a question that came in on that about them getting coverage for them, different medical insurance, et cetera, et cetera. We had some concerns about that, whether or not that would be something that could be another unfunded mandate on the districts. And so we kind of expressed just kind of an observation in that regard. Just be careful making it an unfunded mandate.
That one's going to that one will be tricky. I mean, the session goes through June. So most of the public hearings are done with all of these anyway. And yeah, some of these won't have a lot of legs because they cost money. And this is one in particular that it might be difficult to get through because it costs a bunch of money.
And I think that was reflected because the good thing about the SAC that we have here, we have varying points of view. And so, you know, it'd be one thing to sit there and say, oh, yeah, let's go ahead. But we heard from members of our SAC saying, you know, looking at it from the point of view of like, from the district's point of view, and they expressed a concern. And I think that was reflective. The way we responded was reflective of how, you know, we're open to every idea. All right, so this is one that's been making the headlines, actually. I don't know, my local paper is the Norwalk Hour. It's a Hearst publication, so it's pretty much throughout the state. It was just funny that here I am, we're working on this. And then the headline on the Norwalk Hour this past Sunday was talking about school security personnel training. And so what that was talking about was they were saying, oh, well, the different police officers, the school resource officers, the SROs, if you will, you know, they're police officers and they get certain training, but some of the school districts have the private school personnel. Some of them are armed. And there was a question of what training are they going to get? And so they should at least get something that's similar. So the way that the bill was fashioned, it's 1374. That bill was like saying, oh, we want to give them training. But it was funny because the way the bill had it, the training that they were suggesting was on such topics as use of force, recognition of armed persons, stopping blood loss, active assailant response, retention of firearms and other things, live firearm storage. So those were, you know, all there, you know, there should be trained for the personnel. But we were saying we wanted to have it also in training them how to interact and interface and possibly de-escalate situations when they're dealing with students. And what we did was students with physical or mental disabilities or other special needs. And so we're proposing that they get training on basically the interacting and the possible de-escalation. Because think about it, where are you going to see the greatest population of kids, you know, of young people with, you know, potential, you know, special needs? It's going to be in the school. You know, it's, you know, obviously you're going to see them out in the street, but in the school. So we wanted to have that. So we submitted testimony on that. Now, the other thing is, I was following that on March 18th, if you can follow the bill, it said that they had agreed upon substitute language. I listened to the testimony that day, and they kind of just passed it out of the committee to go on to the next one, to the next step. And the person that was the chair that was announcing everything said, oh, and we want to thank Representative Senator Slapp for his commentary on the special needs stuff. Well, so I immediately wrote to Slapp's thing, and I contacted the legislative office, and I contacted the legislative library to find out exactly what is this substitute language that you have, because it wasn't put on the website. So then I called up to the Representative Boyd's office, and I sent an email to his assistant to try to get a copy of that. So I'm not quite sure what that language is. I do know from looking at the articles in the paper that there was some concerns only because different districts have different ideas about whether or not their security officers will get involved in disciplinary matters. But this is
Jeff,
something we have an eye on. Go ahead, Tom.
Jeff, I'll just jump in real quick. So the language will be on the website, and I could show you where to find it on there. So once this particular bill has been passed along to the Legislative Commissioner's office, so it has to make that next step. And we can get into those details later because I don't think the people on here need to hear all the details of it.
That's what I did.
I'll look at that with you later. I'll look at that with you later. So that's I think the skinny on that one. We've done some good advocacy and submitted good testimony on that one. And this one's a big one. Act 504. They had a huge public hearing. It has not moved past that point yet, 7219. But this is, again, in response, I'll be quick on this one, in response to the federal government's stuff going on up there, is the state of Connecticut looking to protect 504 rights of students in Connecticut by putting it into Connecticut state law. So that's the gist of this one. As you can imagine, we are for that. And you know, without going into too much details, that's sort of what we said is just like, yay, good. And that's pretty much what most people talked about there. There's some concern or question about who's going to make sure that these are followed, right? Is it a State Department of Ed thing? Is it a CHRO thing? What entity within the state? So that's being discussed within the legislature in the committee.
Yeah, and we submitted written testimony on that.
Correct.
All right, so on that particular one, this has to do with every school is supposed to create a security and safety planning committee. And what we wanted to have was that each of those local committees have a representative from the special ed department on the committee. We had advocated to have that made a part of the statute. It was not made a part of the statute. However, the state's, I call it the state police, but it's like DEPSS, Department of Emergency Protection and whatever, Security and Safety. I forget it, but it's like basically the state police. But they're supposed to be creating standards, and they did create standards in conjunction with the Connecticut State Department of Education. And in their standards, they recommended that a representative of the special ed department be included in the local safety and security planning committees. It's a recommendation. It doesn't mean that they even have to put it in the standards. What we want to do is we want to make it a sure thing. We want to make it a slam dunk. So we have suggested once more that the presence of a representative of the special ed department be put in the statute, so it's mandated. And we've done written testimony on that.
Whoops, sorry. There we go.
All right, and so there's a student loan reimbursement act, and under 6074, what they wanted to do was as a pre-qualifier in order to be potentially able to get this student loan reimbursement, you have to have put in X amount of hours of quote unquote volunteer work. This statute that came up was going to include within the definition of volunteer work, working with a religious organization or for people who are volunteer firemen or volunteer EMTs. What we had thought was, what about including under the definition of volunteer work when somebody is entering into the school system and they're doing a practicum or an internship, and they're performing volunteer services, they're not getting paid. And we felt this would assist in the dual roles that we're doing, as number one is incentivizing people to enter into the field, and number two is for retention. So we submitted testimony on that.
And then that one as well, just as a way of an update, that one has moved, I say moved along, but it's filed with the Legislative Commissioner's Office, which is one step in the process. There's many confusing steps that Representative Gajewski, I'm sure, is learning if he doesn't know them already at this point. And but it's moving along, right? So obviously one step is for a bill to get a public hearing. If it hasn't gotten a public hearing, it's pretty much dead at this point. All the ones we've spoken about today have gotten public hearings, so they're at least in that bucket. Now they need to come out of the committees. So a couple of them have started to kind of work their way towards that and be filed with the legislative office. But there's many steps to happen in the coming weeks and months to make all these things happen. So I think that's all we have for updates. That's the last slide I have. Jeffrey.
Hey, it's Robin, Representative Comer.
Hey, Representative Comer.
So I would just say that, after they get out of committee, sometimes they go to, they want to get a fiscal note on this stuff. So that is also part of the process. Sometimes it goes directly to appropriations. Other times it sort of goes to the floor of either the House or the Senate and then goes to appropriations if it needs some funding.
And I just want to say, I want to thank Representative Comey. She has been so helpful and communicative in keeping us posted. And I want to thank Representative Dan Gajewski for joining us. I have to say, in this process, when I've reached out to the different representatives and their staff, et cetera, they've been very, very responsive. I have to say that. I just want to applaud that. I really got an impression of listening to the people. So I just want to give a little round of applause for that.
Yeah, well done, Jeff. And thank you, Robin and Dan. And Robin was instrumental in getting us connected with that members of the Select Special Education Committee up there this year. And we had that meeting up there, and that really led to some good connections. They're listening to us. They want to hear from us. Susan presented side by side at a governor's address one day. I mean, they're really listening. So I appreciate, Representative Rojas nominating you, Representative Gajewski on this committee. So I think we're in a good space right now up there. Robin's been in it with us for a long time now in the long haul, and we're making some headway, and people are listening. So I think it's important that we continue to have our voice heard, and we're a good cross section of the special education world here in Connecticut. I think, and again, thank you, Jeff. You've done a lot of work on this. There's been a lot of work behind the scenes that Jeff's done, writing up testimony and stuff. So I thank you for that.
Wonderful, thank you. I'm not sure, Representative Gajewski, did you get the written testimonies from Mr. Spar? I don't know if you're included in that email group.
I was not included in that email group.
Would you like
but
those?
If Tom could just send me the presentation just to have the bill numbers so I could kind of put them on my like tracking list, that would be much appreciated. And then after I get the bill numbers, if I can get Mr. Spar's testimony through that way, and just kind of look at the bills. Just now, as Tom, I'm sure, can explain to you, navigating the CGA website is an interesting one, but I'm pretty good at it. Before I was a legislator, I was a staffer up here, so know my way around it pretty well. So
That's wonderful. We'll come to you for guidance for sure.
yep, happy to help any way I can.
And also on Friday, this Friday at 9:30, we have another legislative committee meeting, and Brian has given us some more bills that we need to just kind of peek at. I don't know if you saw that in the email. And so if anybody is not invited or does not have an invite to our legislative committee Friday meeting this Friday from 9:30 to 10:30, throw it in the chat, send an email out to Holly or Christine, and they will get you on the, even if you can come for a few minutes, to the invite. Also, Tom, you told me that there's and Representative Comey, Tom said to make sure the calendar is clear on April 9th, because most likely there'll be a hearing on 5001.
That's my guess. So I
Yes.
was told that I was told it's the first or second week of April that they're gunning for. Representative Khan mentioned that to me the other day, and I know Ed does theirs on Wednesdays or has been generally doing those, but it might be another day. But that's what I tentatively targeted. Any thoughts on that, Robin?
Oh, we can't hear you, Robin. Representative Comey.
Sorry, I was having trouble making contact with the button. I don't know. I thought we passed it out of committee the other day.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's going, from what I understand, it's going to Ed committee for a hearing one of those 2 weeks because
Could I have the bill number?
5001.
5001. Give me a second.
Yeah.
I'll pull it up right now.
HB
Okay,
5001.
so the speaker. Public hearing was on March 12th, and it was JF'd to appropriations. So it's probably going to get a public hearing and appropriations.
Yeah, and that was a piece. That was one piece of it too, though. That was only one piece of it. It hasn't been built yet. If you look at the language, it's like one.
There was
paragraph.
nothing in it. It's not
There's
one
nothing in it.
piece. There was nothing
Right.
in it.
There's
It was a
nothing in it, right.
placeholder.
Right, exactly. So that's the public hearing.
Oh,
wasn't
wow.
like, the public hearing wasn't about much that day. It was just kind of like, hey.
But that's great. So it's a public hearing and appropriations. Awesome. Yeah, then good. Hold the date.
Yeah, and we just submitted what we had put in our annual report as recommendations to the legislators for that.
And just to chime in here, I anticipate, as Tom said, that, and I can't remember if it was Tom or Robin that said it, but this is only a 2-page bill right now. So I expect appropriations is going to add some more language into it as well. So just as part of the legislative process.
Yeah, that special ed committee is building it, right? So it's going to be a 50, 60s. It's going to be a long bill, once they build it. But they're working on that now in the select committee before they kick it over to education, is the way I understand it. So thank you both. I appreciate it.
Wonderful.
No, it'll go to appropriations. It won't come back to
Appropriations.
education. We've already passed it out of the education committee. It's a little confusing and non-standard the way it's working. So it's
Yeah.
okay to be confused.
I'm always confused.
We'll let you know.
Okay, thank you so much. Anything else for legislative report? Okay, all right, wonderful. So we're going to move on to new business. Bureau of Special Education has their update.
Hi, good morning again, everyone. Very pleased to have our colleague Alicia Tracus with us this morning, who is going to do a presentation on the IDA grant, Part B grant. This is our grant from the federal government that supports, there are two sections of the grant, 619, which supports students ages 3 through 5, and then 611 supporting students ages 3 through 22, the end of the school year in which students turn 22 currently. So those of you that have been on the SAC for a while know that this was Tom Boudreau's area for many years. So we want to congratulate Tom on his recent retirement in December. And who knows, Tom may be checking in and tuning in and with us this morning. But we're so appreciative and happy to have Alicia take on the reins and had an opportunity to work alongside Tom for the past year or so. But we really are excited about the grant application, despite what's happening at the federal government. We know that the federal dollars for special education are secure based on a continuing resolution. We do have the application and are applying for our funds. So that is good news for our families and students and educators that support and do the work for students with disabilities. We're keeping ears open to any changes. At this time, I'll turn things over to Alicia. Alicia, thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, members of the SAC. I appreciate being here. I was just here a couple months ago, and so I'm happy to be back and in this new role. Just want to make sure you can see my screen before I continue going. Yep, okay. So as Brian said, we're going to do a quick overview of the FFY 25, the Federal Fiscal Year 25 IDEA grant application. That's the state application that we apply for. As you said, there's two pieces, and we'll kind of go through that, 611, 619. We are going to solicit some feedback from the group today about our preliminary budget and our other state activities. And then I'll go through a quick rundown of the FY 26, which is the state's fiscal year. It's the same grant. We just call them two different: federal fiscal year, state fiscal year, but it's the same amount of money. The times are a little bit off, but we'll go through what the LEAs have to actually submit in our electronic grant management system, just so you can understand the process they go through. And then I'll go through a quick slide on our fiscal monitoring process and then take any questions. So if you knew Tom always started and ended with a quote. And as Brian said, I got to work alongside him the last year or so. And certainly that's something that I am continuing. To start out with a quote from Michael J. Fox: "Our challenges don't define us, our actions do." So let's get into the state application. As a reminder, the purpose of the IDEA grant programs are to provide federal entitlement funds to eligible applicants to assist with the excess costs of providing special education and related services to students with disabilities. Our state application is broken into 5 sections. The section 1 is basically the submission statement. So you either get a full or a conditional submission. We were approved last year, so we're going in with a full submission. Section 2 is all about assurances and certifications that we're meeting federal laws related to special education. Section 3 asks us to describe how we're going to use our funds, specifically our other state set-aside funds, and that's done through the interactive spreadsheet, which we're going to solicit a little bit of feedback from you about some of our activities for the other state activities funds. Section 4 of the grant is our state administration. So it's basically our state laws and regulations that deal with special education that we have to report on an annual basis. As you know, legislative changes are Connecticut general statutes, and so we have to update that on an annual basis. Section 5 is other requirements, and specifically, this is where we show our maintenance of state financial support. It's known as the MFS. It's our way of showing that we're expending the same, if not more, as a state for students with disabilities. And Section B of Section 5 is about our significant disproportionality. Our formula has not changed. And so essentially, if you don't change the way you're identifying students through significant disproportionality, we don't have to complete that section. And then the additional section is Section 427 of the General Education Provision Act. You'll know that as GEPA. I'm sure that comes up a lot if you know that term. The GEPA form is essentially our way to show that we are ensuring equitable access to and participation in the federal grant. Just so you understand the grant process, our grant was posted on the website on March 12th, and it's posted for 60 days, so it will go through May 12th. Within that time period, we're required to also have a 30-day public comment period, which is April 1st through April 30th. And we hold 2 in-person hearings to gather input. I will be on Friday, April 11th. I will be at New England Assistive Technology Center, or the NEAT Center. And on April 25th, I'll be at the State Education Resource Center to gather input and feedback from the public. Print copies are also available in the 6 rests, as well as CERC, and at CPAC, our Parent Training and Information Center. And written comments or questions can be addressed to me. As Brian said, there's 2 parts of the grant, 611, which is ages 3 through 21. But as you know, in Connecticut, our statutes allow students to remain eligible through the end of the school year in which they turn 22. So our IDEA funds for 611 go from 3 to the end of the school year in which a student turns 22. And 619 is our preschool grant for ages 3 through 5. Within each of those grants, we get 3 buckets of money. We get administrative monies, it's all a federal formula. We get other state activities funds, and then we get an amount that goes through to the LEAs. It's called the subrecipient or the sub-grantee award. So essentially all eligible LEAs have to complete the same type of application process by assuring that they're complying to IDEA and state regulations, and they have to meet certain standards and show that they're supplementing, not supplanting, in order to receive the award. This is one of my favorite slides because I'm a visual learner. This shows our federal funding cycle within the IDEA grant, that we are always in 3 grants at one time. So that red arrow coming down shows where we are right now. We're at the end of March, beginning of April, and the federal fiscal year 22, fiscal year 23, that's ended. So that has ended. So you can see the liquidation period has ended, but we are in the 2nd year, or the tidings year, of federal. Oh, these numbers are wrong, so I'm going to change those, but nope, that's right. So fiscal year 24, that's what we're in right now. 2nd year of fiscal year 24. So LEAs are trying to spend the 2nd year of the grant of fiscal year 24. Federal fiscal year 24, fiscal year 25 is the 1st year of the grant. That's the year we're in right now. We're in year 1 of that grant. And FFY 25, fiscal year 26, this is what LEAs are planning, and we're planning to use those funds. We're in that planning cycle. So we're still in 3 federal funding cycles at one time. Let's talk a little bit about our preliminary numbers for FFY 25. As Brian said, we have the grant application. It is posted. I will just note that there is no state allocation table as of yet from the federal government. So though we are in the process of going through the application, we are required to have it posted. We were required to have it posted by March 21st. We got ours out early. We don't have a allocation table, so we don't know what we are getting for our award yet. But the federal government has required us to post. And when we get that state allocation table and we know what our preliminary amounts are, we will update our interactive spreadsheet and update that into the online posting and send that out to all of the people who have printed copies. The clock does not restart, it continues. So we're using, for the purpose of today, the funding amount that we had this current year for FFY 24, FY 25. So with the 611 grant, we had $159,185,765. And so how that was broken out, again, to those 3 buckets, we have administrative amounts, which was roughly a little under $4 million. that was about 2.5% of the amount. It's a federal formula that we get that part for administration that pays our salaries to ensure that we're following the IDEA. The second bucket of money is our other state activities, which we'll talk about a little bit more in depth in the next couple slides. And we were given roughly almost 18 million as a maximum amount, but we did take an adjustment because last year there was a decrease to LEAs. And so we took some of our other state activities funds and put it directly to LEAs so that we have about 16.5 million that we used for other state activities, which was just about 10% of the funds, and pushed that 1.2 to LEAs to make up for the decrease that we received from the federal award. And then the amount to the LEAs was a little under 139 million, which is 87% of the award. With 619, again, these are current year's numbers, what we received last year starting in July. And so that roughly was just about 5 million. We have a small amount for administration, which was just about 5%. We have an amount for other state activities similar to 611. We reduced this because of the decrease to LEAs so that we had roughly 700,000 that we used for other state activities. And then just about 4.5, a little under 4.4 million went to LEAs, which was roughly 82% of the funds. So just to give you an understanding of the amounts we're talking about. So within those other state activities buckets, we then have to do specific activities or activities that help us meet the regulations. So for example, in 611, and we had roughly about 16.5 million in other state activities, we have required activities that you have to put funds into. And those are for dispute resolution, for mediation, due process, our surrogate parent program, and complaints. And so we spent we're projecting roughly 2.5 million to account for that required activity. The other activities are optional activities, and we do that through a multitude of contracts with some of our vendors like the State Education Resource Center and the Regional Education Service Centers. They provide our professional development, training, and technical assistance in areas like, if I broke down those contracts, there's hundreds of projects and activities that we do within each of those contracts. But to give you sort of a rough estimate, those are things that we're supporting and providing direct services, technical assistance, personnel preparation, professional development and training. We also give funds to help LEAs meet personnel shortages. We support capacity building activities and improve the delivery of services, things like our Connecticut IEP quality training. We're providing and helping LEAs provide positive behavior intervention services and mental health services for students with disabilities. We're supporting and improving the use of technology for students with disabilities and assistive technology. Then we also have our CPAC, which is our Parent Training and Information Center, where some of our funds go to their supports and services. As you know, they're supporting us through the call center as well. We also use funds to go to the Special Education Data System, or CTSED. One of the optional activities is to help reduce paper reduction and put technology in the IEP process. So we use those funds for that purpose. And then we have other contracts and subscriptions, like the subscription to LRP that we provide to all LEAs, things like that go into that bucket. Within 619, basically all of our other state activities funds goes to a contract with the Office of Early Childhood, or the OEC, to do all of the activities that they're doing to assist with birth to 3 and that transition as they're turning 3 for special education services. They also provide some professional development and work very closely with our colleague, Renee Kleinman, in the state Bureau of Special Education. So at this point, I'd like to gather some feedback from the group. If in the, we have those required activities, but we do have as I said, some of those general buckets of how we could use the activities. Are there things that you think recommendations that we could use the funds for?
Just wanted to note, Alicia, as folks are thinking, we'll look for if you want to raise your hand or
In the chat. Yep.
Or in the chat. Just wanted to mention also, although the section 9619, you can see the allocation to the Office of Early Childhood. Just a reminder that our contracts with CERC and the RESC Alliance, for example, contain many initiatives and activities around early childhood because the 611 grant is 3 through 22. So just wanted to mention, didn't want you to think that the early childhood activities were only relegated to 619. It's across both grants. Alicia, I see Tom's hand up. Tom
Sorry,
Koski.
I can't see because
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I'll just jump in. So thank you, Alicia, for this. This is great. Again, having seen this presentation by Tom many times, I can give him a shout out. Give you a shout out. You're doing him proud. So
Thanks, Tom.
with the Michael J. Fox thing in there and everything, he'll be very proud. So yeah, on this thing, and so I appreciate the question asking us for input. Of course, I need some time to think on this because this is a lot, but I look forward to the opportunity to provide some feedback on other activities the money could be spent on. And to your point, Brian, is there again a little more granular breakdown or some of the pieces within 7 million for CERC? It's like, cool, I kind of know what CERC does. They do a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? Like I sort of know what the rest do, a million things. You know what I mean? So like, if there's any way that would help to know, oh, you're already doing that. Like, I don't want to suggest things that you're already doing that would be silly, but, yeah, certainly. And of course, CPAC, I'm very familiar with what they do. And so any little bit of detail on that. And if you could shoot that to us or even this slide, to us, with an opportunity to provide PDAC, I'd love to take some time and think about that.
Thanks for that, Tom, too. And I know and for some of the newer members of the State Advisory Council, so our professional development and technical assistance activities are aligned to our state performance plan. So you all on the SAC help us identify what improvement activities will address graduation, dropout for students with disabilities, achievement on state tests, going through all those 17 indicators. So each of our professional development, these are aligned to those outcomes. And I want to say not last year or not this year, but the year prior, the State Advisory Council, during a presentation of our indicators, we get your feedback on improvement activities. One of the suggestions that the State Advisory Council had was to tie least restrictive environment data with achievement data. So we know that Connecticut has had a reduction in the amount of time students with disabilities access typical peers 80% or more of the day. We also know that Connecticut has high rates of outplacement, which is called 5C. That's our indicator 5 that we report to the federal government. And although reductions have been made over the last 3 years, we want to continue to support school districts in ensuring least restrictive environment programming for students. The legislature has taken an active role in that this year, and the governor of creating incentives for school districts to do inclusive programming at their level and with startup funds potentially if those bills end up eventually being passed. So we can provide greater granular detail, like you said, Tom, and also go back to those activities that you contributed for to say, okay, how are we supporting our districts and families in improving graduation rates for students with disabilities? Which activities give us the biggest bang for our buck and lead to improved outcomes? So those are things for you all to think about. And although we have just a little bit of time today for comments and suggestions, this is an ongoing process and will continue throughout the year.
I have a quick question. Alicia, thank you so much for your presentation and very excellent graphics. I just had a quick question. Are you taking the annual report that the SAC puts together with our recommendations for CSDE and seeing if any of our recommendations fit in with this other state activities such as unified programming? I just was wondering about that. And I'm going to take
Brian, do you want to take that? Or do you want me to answer?
If I can hit my unmute button. Sure, I'll start. The short answer is yes, Susan, absolutely. So each year, as we're fortunate to be involved in the development of the annual report. So we have an idea and concepts as you all are identifying your priorities and putting that information together. But that's absolutely a consideration. And because of the partnerships we have with, for example, CERC and the RESC Alliance, provides us with flexibilities to make adjustments as needed. As you can imagine, the activities that we have are vast. Those provide and increase the capacity of what the State Department can do. So although we have a budget process and a budget cycle, as we receive new information, that information is considered and can be infused in real time.
And the other thing I do want to know is through our contracts with the RESCs and CERC, which I know are like hundreds of projects, we do monitor how often people are attending the sessions, how many people actually attend, who registers, and there's evaluations for many of the activities that we do. And those are all data points that we also look at when we decide, should we continue these activities? We also gather feedback from stakeholders throughout the year about what professional development and learning they would like to attend. And we do use that data as we're going through our proposal process.
Jovi has her hand up.
Thank you, Susan. I just wanted to possibly share an activity that could be related to translation interpretation, having quality translation interpretation for families. Possibly having some PD for staff that are bilingual, that they can have quality interpretations within their districts, right? Whether it's provided by the RESC, that they can have that possibility. I know that Massachusetts has a tiered system of training bilingual staff members in their district, and then families can have quality interpretation and translation services.
Thank you for the suggestion.
Jovi, you used an acronym. What's PD?
Professional development. I apologize.
That's okay. Is there anybody else that has any questions? Because we can't also all see the screen as well. I don't see any more. All right. Okay.
All right.
Would you like to move on
Yes,
to
yes.
our roundtable? We only have a couple.
Oh, I was going to say, what I'll do really quickly, just go through a quick I don't think I can get to the end. Let's see. I will send these slides so you can see all of the pages. I won't go through them in depth because there's a lot of pages that the LEAs have to complete in their application process. But it has my contact information at the end. I did just want to talk really quickly about the fiscal monitoring process, but sorry, close your eyes for a second because it could make you sick of the scrolling quickly. Let's see, budgets. Okay. Just a really quick overview of our fiscal monitoring process. So we are required by uniform grant guidance to have a monitoring process on an annual basis that does go through January through December 31st. And risk factors are calculated and monitored throughout the year. Examples like if the LEA is returning unspent funds, that is considered a risk factor. And so we have some potential risk throughout the year, which gives the LEAs a risk score at the end of the year. Letters for 2024 were just sent out last week to LEAs who were identified as in moderate or high risk. Some of these additional activities that we use to gather through our risk process, we have within the grant application a fiscal self-assessment that the LEAs have to complete on an annual basis as part of the grant. The responses to those questions are also included in the risk. When we do risk monitoring, we look at specific policies and procedures that the LEA has in place. And again, all of that comes to determine different risk factors and their final risk score for the year. And so I'll close with a quote. This is, if anybody knows me, I have two animals, a dog Linus and a cat Lucy. And so I'm a huge Peanuts fan. And so I'll end with, in life, it's not where you go, it's who you travel with. And so thank you for allowing me to present this morning. My contact information is in the slides, and I would be happy to take any further feedback you have on our other state activities funds. Thank you, everyone, for allowing me to be here today.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So all we have left now is we just have a few minutes is we have our parent and agency roundtable, our updates. So if you could raise your hand or your virtual hand and share any unmet needs or positive outcomes from your interest holders. Remember, no events are announced here and that they're instead sent to Jennifer Lucier for a distribution to the full SAC. So does anyone have any agency or parent updates or unmet needs? Anybody? I don't see.
Raise your hand.
I see who? I see because I see Mr. Spar.
I see Missy and Tom.
Okay, let's start with Jeff and then we'll go to Missy and Tom.
So I just had a question for Brian. So April is Autism Acceptance Month, and we're having I know it's not announcing an event, but we always have a proclamation from the governor. But I wanted to know, Tom, does the Special Education Bureau intend to put some kind of a big announcement or informational stuff online about April and autism acceptance?
Yep, if you could send over, I know you typically do, but any information that you can send over, we're happy to get out through the Bureau Bulletin, Bureau blog.
Thanks, Brian.
Absolutely.
Great. Tom?
Missy, you were first. Did you want to talk?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't realize why my hand was down, but yes, just very quickly, as part of my what I do at CERC is I do transition sessions for families. I've had a lot of those this year, which has been quite exciting. But I also attend expos. And I just wanted to highlight, we had our Special Education Advisory Council, which I am a chair or lead or co-chair or something for Canterbury. And we had our resource fair, I think it was last week. I don't know. I'm get confused with dates. But it was very successful. That's where we had the Special Olympics table at, and we had many other groups there, which was really great. Unfortunately, the parent participation wasn't as nice as we would like to have it, but we're going to work on the PA for that so that the public relations and making sure that we get announcements out so that we have more families. But I would encourage districts to reach out to families around secondary transition. And please, while I'm still at CERC, I do those presentations for families. And I think it's so important for them to understand what transition skills are and how they can support their child with that. So, so just a heads up about that.
Thank you. Tom?
Yeah, quickly, more of a question for Brian, actually, as well. I know mention got made recently about a study that UConn/CSDE is doing on outplacement, something to that effect. And
Yes,
I'm assuming you know what I'm referring to. If you could just fill us in on any details on that, like what it is, when it is. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So the CSDE contracted with the University of Connecticut to study other states who have rate setting for their approved private special education programs. So there are 5 or 6 states that are being interviewed by researchers at Connecticut. The report is close to being finalized. It was a priority for the commissioner to have that report completed during this legislative session. The report will identify pros and cons that those states experienced in moving to rate setting for approved private special education programs. As part of that study, UConn also interviewed state personnel, the directors from CONCASE, directors of approved private programs, superintendents, to get local perspective on the current status of contracts, rate setting, invoicing procedures, and so forth. So we're excited and anxious to receive that report alongside the pros and cons. Once that report's finalized, we'll obviously be sharing details related to that as well as next steps from the CSDE.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Yeah, I was wondering, that was my next
Welcome.
question. It's good to share it with the SAC just so we can see the results
Absolutely.
of that. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lena also has her hand raised, Susan.
Lena, thank you.
Yes, hi, thank you. This is an announcement. Today at 6:30, I'm going to have a workshop about micro businesses. It's hosted in collaboration with Darlene Bohr, Director of Employment and Vocational Innovator at Futures. And then this is going to be about how to create a product and work and how we can have training, and of course this program is for individuals with disabilities. Then if you guys want to have any information, feel free to send me an email or a little message in the chat, then I will share with everybody. Thank you so much. It's today at 6:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Lena. And is that virtual?
Yes, it's virtual.
Thank you. Lori? Oh, we can't hear you.
I thought I clicked the button. I'm sorry. This is to build on what Missy was talking about with transition program and all of that. I'm finding more and more that there's so many things out there, and especially with outplaced students, they are not hearing and knowing where to go. The parents are just completely lost. Usually the schools are smaller, they don't have the resources, and I'm not sure if there's a way to do some sort of a central repository. Like, I mean, even the transition conferences or the meetups that are actually put together, it's you kind of stumble upon the information to even attend them. So I'm not sure what the answer is. I'm still trying to think about it myself, but I want to put it out there because parents are frustrated because they're not sure. They're afraid they're missing some of the steps in the process of what they need to do with their kids as they start to transition.
Great. Missy, do you have any information on that?
So we have well, there's lots of things. I mean, we send information out to districts about the Transition 101 sessions for families and stuff like that. And so we have that. I've created a Google Drive when I go out to these sessions that I post for families, all of the resources that I get, and I try to update for them, so I share that. But we also have a transition community of practice. And so that is statewide. It's virtual, except for usually the first day is in person. But we meet like 4 times a year. That particular session is open to everyone. So we'll have, I think the last time we had like 101 people who attended. And each session we talk about a different component. So one session is post-secondary education and training, the other is employment, and then we have independent living skills. And so we focus on presentations about each of those for families and resources on that. So if anybody is interested in the transition community of practice and getting more information, they can send me an email. We have one last session on May 29th, which is on independent living skills. Again, it's virtual. They can go to CERC's website and register. It's on our events page on CERC's website. But I will be glad to provide more information about that.
Missy, thank you. I knew you'd be the person to ask. And Brian put something in the chat about secondary transition.
Yeah.
And Jennifer also put her email in the chat to send any events. Brian, you have your hand up? Or Lori, are you good?
I just wanted to say it's not so much the programs that are offered, it's getting the word to everybody. It's those smaller schools, they whether they get it and they just don't share it. I'm not sure exactly how to figure that part out. That's the biggest piece of it, because I've been to several personally, the transition setups, and it's wonderful the support you can get. It's just them knowing about it and knowing when they are and the process.
Right, it's
Brian,
just the
yeah.
CPAC Facebook page is a good place.
Yeah.
Okay, I will
And,
share that.
and Brian did post up the secondary transition website. That's what that is. And within that website, there is a specific section for families and students to get information. But there's also a professional development tag on it. So people can go in there, and there's a flyer in there for the Transition 101 session. And then any of the transition trainings that either CERC or the RESCs are providing, like in Life Course and all of that stuff throughout the year, that's posted up on their website. So it's just getting that information out to families to look, because when I do the Transition 101 sessions with families, I show them that website, and none of them ever knew it existed. So it's just really important to try to just constantly tell families about the website and what's there. So
Lori, too, just really quick. I know we're at time, Susan, so I apologize.
That's okay.
There's always an opportunity for us to plug also our Bureau of Special Education call center. The number is 860-713-6966. There are attendants there 5 days a week during business hours for any questions families have. If a family is ever lost or doesn't know where to turn, those consultants can provide information on special education training opportunities, all of the above.
Perfect. I will capture all this and share it as I hear people need it. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Wonderful. This is why I love Roundtable. Mr. Kosker, I know we're done. You have 2 seconds.
Yeah, I know. 2 seconds. Come on, seriously, 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's Tom.
You're hilarious. No, thank you, Lori, for bringing it up. I think it's an issue we hear all the time as well. And the more smaller programs, the more separate, the more distance students and families are from their home district, the less information they get about. It's hard enough to get it in your public high school, right? The information about these programs, let alone some of these segregated programs. So I appreciate that. What I would encourage us to do is maybe continue this conversation another time, because I think there's a lot of good ideas and thoughts that we're all discussing and sharing. It's not there's tons of resources, tons of programs, tons of stuff. It's making sure that Tom Kosker hears about it, even though he's not on the SAC and not involved as I am, right? The other people that are in my district, the other people are in these APSEPs and stuff. And what can we do? What can we recommend as a SAC to kind of help facilitate that? So I would love to encourage a conversation to this at a future meeting. Thanks.
Thank you so much. All right, that's great. We always talk about resources and how to get resources to people. Lena, okay, Lena also put about her micro business workshop for persons with disabilities in the chat. Okay, so our next meeting is in person and virtual, if you would like, at the Capital Region Education Council, CREC. Their central building at 111 Charter Oak Avenue on Wednesday, April 23rd. From 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And I'm going to ask somebody to please make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. Oh, I even see said, thank you. Thank you. Great. So we don't even have to do all in favor of adjournment. Adjournment at 10:34 a.m. Thank you so much, everybody. And always know you can reach out in between if you have any questions or updates. Thank you so much once again for everybody. Thank you.